Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NintendoFuse Game Chat. Today, we're talking all about Satryn DX for the Nintendo Switch. So, Satryn DX is a chaotic twin stick shooter that harkens back to old school arcade games like Robotron. There's 12 different enemies to fight, there's a bunch of different power ups, different hazards, and every time you play the game, you're getting different series of titles. Every single level feels different. It's got a very like old school neon retro, style palette, I guess you could say. And it really brings you back to the 80s. Full disclosure, this came from Flynn's Arcade. They're the publisher, and they also provided us review code, so thank you. So let's go to you first, Steve. What's your take on Saturn DX?
Yeah. So I initially saw this game pop up, and I wasn't really sure. At first, I saw a game that definitely spoke my language, twin stick shooter, arcade style. I was like, this could be really fun. And then the more I looked into it, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I get bored with it. And then we got codes, and so I went ahead and tried it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was pulled more into the game than I thought I would be. It challenged me more than I thought it would as well, and it kept me coming back for more, which was not what I was expecting at all. I thought I was going to be bored by it. Its simplicity is simple. So if you're wanting a complex game, it's not really that complex. There's some aspects to it that I think are interesting, that I've not had in other twin stick shooters, like the where you needed to rescue your friends, as you're playing. So you also keep track of them and be able to not let them die in the process. So not just shooting all the enemies and killing everything on screen, but also saving all your friends and making sure they don't die as well. So that was cool to have something else chaotic on the screen that you had to focus on. But in the end, it was funny with two different things. So number one, I thought the way they did the leaderboard, the online leaderboard, was really interesting by not just updating it automatically, but giving you a QR code that you have to scan and then put on your phone to get the high scores, which was interesting. So as of right now, I'm number 14th in the world, by the way. But the high score is also based on what score you get and what level you go to, not necessarily on how many of your friends you save. That factors into the score. But after some time, I just decided I don't care about like saving all my friends. I'm just going to keep going as far as I can in this game, and we'll just see what happens. And that actually played out better for me in the long run. So yeah, it's an interesting game, and it drew me in more than I expected it to. They made some interesting choices as well, but yeah, I had some fun with it.
Pretty much shared a pretty similar experience to Steve. I didn't even realize that there were like friends. I was just trying to shoot everything on the screen, so like, it didn't really matter if it was a color or anything. I saw like a little friend icon. I didn't really understand what it was, and then like I obviously red is always coded to be like bad and or evil or stuff to defeat in basically every other video game on in the world. But essentially, like I eventually like ran into him at one point, like, oh, like the blue ones actually don't hurt me, and then I saw like the friend count like go up. But like I had beaten several levels and like the friends all stayed alive, and then it even automatically totals it. So like that wasn't even like factoring into like my first like run through of the game. So that was pretty cool that like you don't even have to like rescue them all if you don't want to, but there's like there an aspect of it if you are able to take like still protect them, like shooting the enemies like closest to them. So that was definitely appreciated as well. So like you don't have to be like super focused on keeping them like all alive as long as you keep some of them alive to make sure to keep going after the score. So I did think that the leaderboard tactic was kind of interesting. I didn't end up actually submitting it. Like I was following through the process and then was getting to the QR code, and I was like, maybe I'll do this later. Or I don't know if my score is actually good enough that I want to actually go through and submit it to an official leaderboard. So I don't know where my score ranks. Perhaps it's higher than Steve's. I don't know, but
Now is the
well,
time to do it, Greg, before it releases to the rest of the world.
yeah, that's very true. So yeah, I probably should get another good run going. I did make it past like level 10 or whatever. I have no idea how far like you got in your for your run, Steve, but there was a few runs that I did get past like level 10, and it was a really enjoyable experience just going around, and then always really hoping that power up comes along and really hoping that it's one that's very helpful. So like there was like one that gives like a little bit of a shield and kind of helps push the enemies back, and that one was very effective on the later levels when the stuff is really swarming down against you. And then even like the stronger laser one was also really appreciated. I could just kind of like cut through like the entire swarm, and the ones that take several hits to defeat and just take them out in a single blast was really enjoyable as well. And then even like the low key like the spread gun that did like a V pattern like with the shot was also a really cool weapon that I had as well too, that really helped take down the modes of enemies. So I pretty much had a pretty good time going through several different rounds, and did notice that like each time was essentially different. That the power ups always changed, and even if you died with the power up, but like it still let you respawn with it, because even though it just has a limited use, so that was very much appreciated, that you don't even just fully lose the power up. It will actually let you finish out the use of it until it fully runs out, providing it lives left. Anyway, so
Did my first run. I think I got to like the seventh wave or whatever, and I died. And the very first wave, I saw one of the like the shiny pyramids, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a power up!" So I ran right into it and died, like very right away,
Yep.
instantly. I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, okay, lesson learned. That's a bad thing." Um, but when I played it again, I was expecting the same thing, like the old school arcades, like Donkey Kong. You always start level 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it was different every time. It's infinitely, it's random what one you're going to get. So that kept me coming back because it was always on my toes. I was like, I have no idea. I can't bank on learning a pattern because I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm going to get and what enemy combinations I'm going to get. And sometimes you get enemies that like spawn smaller enemies, and sometimes you get enemies that like tie a laser to each other. And then the power ups, which again, I was not expecting power ups when I played this game. And then I got like a rocket launcher, and I'm like, shooting rocket. I'm like, this is cool. This is not what I was expecting at all when I got the code. It exceeded my expectations, honestly. Because, and I guess that's because we're so far divorced from games like Robotron in the early '80s, and even Smash TV and stuff like that, where there's time to improve upon some more modern stuff. And like Greg, I didn't feel my score was probably worth submitting, so I didn't submit it, but maybe I will because it's pre-release. But I really had a good time, and I was very pleasantly surprised because I'm not one of those that likes repetition. I do not like redoing the same level over and over and over again, because I'll get great at levels like 1 to 20 and be bored of them. And then like levels 20 to 30 or 21 to 30, it's like I'm starting to struggle because I don't get as much practice as I do in the early levels. And I hate that I'm bored. I have to rerun this whole thing again. But this alleviated that, because level 2 on playthrough 3 is different than playthrough 2, which is different than playthrough 1. So I never felt I was getting bored. I felt like I I pick it up and play like I put a quarter in the machine. I play till I run out of lives, and then I can put it down and I can come back. And that's really, really cool, and it has like that good pick up and play mentality with it. Just to go over, this game is $6.99 right now. It does release on the 18th of July, 2024. $7. Steve, was this something you should pick up now, wait for a sale, or pass? What do you think?
Yeah, I highly recommend this game. For $7, it's a great deal. And yeah, if you really enjoy like a twin stick shooter with all these different elements and stuff, it's going to keep you coming back for more and more and more for only $7. If you don't like shooters and this is not your thing, then yeah, you can avoid it. But if this interests you, I'd highly recommend it.
I would pretty much fully agree with that. So I mean, if you're into these like the shooter type games, or even like where the enemies are kind of swarming around you, this would be your perfect kind of cup of tea. Like that's $7 is a very easy price to pay for a very exceptional experience, and no two runs will be identical, and that's more than you can really ask for, really. Because I mean, you don't get the repetition, you don't get anything else that is just it's a lot more skill based than like other things. Than I mean, the RNG I'm assuming is fair with like the points and everything, but I would think that everything else is like pretty balanced.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo again. I think for if this is your type of game, if you like the twin stick shooters, if you like the old school arcade, $7 is a steal. And especially if you're looking for something that you can pick up and play, do like that one more run, and spend 20 minutes or something at a time on a game. This is great to have on your Switch. You just boot it up. It boots up quickly. Play a run or two, and then go about your day. You don't need to sit there for 100 hours or anything like that, but you can. That's the beauty. You can play this game for 5 minutes. You can play this game for 100 hours. It really depends on your play style and what you like. But it is very simple, and it is very, that's actually a strength in this type of game. The simplicity is a strength. So once again, thank you very much to Flynn's Arcade for providing us all with review codes. Again, this comes out July 18th, $7 on the Nintendo eShop. For other game chats just like this, as well as stuff like our podcast, our industry talks, and a bunch of other videos, please go to nintendofuse.com or check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/nintendofuse. Steve, Greg, thank you so much for joining me today. And for everyone out there, have a great day.